Of the two major UFC pay-per-view cards set to feature in the opening half of this year, UFC 299 and its follow-up, the landmark UFC 300, which event is better? Despite the fact that neither card is fully complete, I think the best way to do this will be to rank the top 8 fights from each event as they've been released so far, and put them up against each other fight by fight. Now this won't give us a perfect read, but we will circle back and assess once we're done, and see what results we've come up with, and I'll give a final opinion from there. The opening round does depend on what you're looking for. Bantamweight is without question the most talent-rich division in the sport, and in Pedro Munoz you have one of its finest gatekeepers, a guy who only really loses to the best of the best. Now, is the younger, less proven Kyler Phillips ready for a crack at the top 10 or the top 12? Well, this fight will certainly be an entertaining way to find out. But for my money, the Bo Nickel question is a much bigger deal in terms of pure spectacle. Sure, a fight with someone like Cody Brundage, who's had his ups and downs, won't tell us everything, but I'm still excited to see how Nickel's progression is going. Now this one might be divisive. On one hand, you have a fight of genuine consequence for the heavyweight division, a clash between the tried and tested Curtis Blades, and a contender who does look set to rise up and get right into the middle of the title race. I'm not alone in thinking that Jailton Almeida underwhelmed last time around, and though I am excited for this fight, the whole Jim Miller story has really gripped me once again. I know this is a fight of absolutely no consequence to the title picture at lightweight, but man, I've been a Jim Miller fan for so long that seeing him fight Bobby Green on yet another landmark event is going to light something within me personally. So you can make your own call on this, but Jim Miller at UFC 300 kinda edges it out. Two fights with a bunch of well-known names in the two best divisions in the sport. The lightweight clash between Mateus Gamrot and Rafael dos Anjos is a great test on the middle with his style, but I really do enjoy that intense wrestling, and I think this is an awesome stepping stone fight for him, because RDA remains a very solid fighter, a very well-rounded fighter. Davison Figueiredo and Cody Garbrandt will definitely have their work cut out to break into the top 5 at back hitters, but also a guy in Cody who's at a real make or break run in his career, probably his last run at the title, which given Figueiredo's age applies to him as well. I actually prefer the Gamrot fight because I have been following him for years now, and in terms of upside, out of the 4 fighters here, he is the one that definitely has the most. But I like both of these fights quite a lot. The significance of the first all-Chinese title fight in UFC history is not lost on me, but I don't think I'm alone in saying that this fight is kind of wasted on UFC 300. It should have happened in China. It's not like the UFC don't go there, and it's an opportunity that they've kind of bottled. It's not going to come around again, so while I do like this fight stylistically, on the UFC 299 side is the all-action bout between Kevin Holland and the long-awaited debut of Michael Venom Page. Maybe it's a debut that's coming a few years or maybe even a decade late, but either way, it's an easy pick. I'm pretty excited for this one. On a quick side note, if you're enjoying this content, be sure to let us know in the comments section below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the like button. In spot number 4, we have 2 excellent fights, the first of which, UFC 299's Gilbert Burns versus Jack Della Maddalena. This is a real step up for a prospect who does appear to have the skills to get into title contention. Aljamain Sterling, on the other hand, is a long-reigning champion who is looking to put his skills to test in a new weight class. For me, Sterling versus Calvin Kattar has more unknowns about it. It's the fight that I'd be more pumped for during their walkouts, although both will be pretty exciting to be fair. But seeing a former champion step up in weight is always intriguing. Even one as widely divisive as Sterling, and I still think he has a lot to give. So yeah, one more point for UFC 300. Okay, so this one is an interesting pick. I did go back and forth on it a few times. Is it the all-out action chaos of the 205-pound clash between Yuri Prochazka and Alexander Rakic? A fight that I'm surprised we're getting so soon after Yuri's recent TKO loss. Or is it the technical striking of the very out-of-form but still clearly elite Petr Yan and the long-rising talent that is the still very young Song Yadong? Well, again, this one was tough, but I'm actually going to go with Petr Yan versus Song Yadong. I just love this matchup on a technical level, and I see it producing one of the best high-level striking collisions on either card. Yet another very difficult pick comes in next. Some much needed movement is at least being attempted in the lightweight division, a weight class that has had some form of logjam at the very top for most of the last 5 or 6 years now. Benoit Saint-Denis and Arman Tsarukyan represent a new breed of contender. For me, the only question is the one over which action fight between Saint-Denis and Poirier or Tsarukyan and Oliveira is better. To be honest, I think Oliveira versus Tsarukyan produces the better challenger to Islam Makhachev's crown. I think it also makes for a far wilder fight, given how well-rounded and crazy both guys are. In fact, I almost considered putting this fight first on the UFC 300 rankings, but as you've probably guessed, I've left the headliner there instead. And finally, we come to the number 1 spot, which of course is a collision of the two headliners. In my opinion, the best fights on each card, although it was pretty close, especially for UFC 300. The novelty of seeing Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway for the BMF title has kind of been overtaken by this very noticeable trend of people who are ruling out Max's chances against a hitter like Gaethje, which makes sense because, you know, Max does get hit. For me though, I would be quietly confident that this fight could surprise people, just like I am with Sean O'Malley versus Marlon Vera. I think O'Malley is a hugely underrated fighter, but I do think that Vera also poses some very interesting stylistic problems for him. It's a make or break fight for O'Malley as a champion versus a title eliminator of sorts in the Showtime division of the UFC. And so I'm going to side with Gaethje versus Holloway based on the spectacle, but this one was very close. So there you have it, by no means a shutout, but 5-3 in favor of UFC 300, with a few close swing rounds here or there, and in fairness we could have very easily got a draw. But overall, I do think regardless of this scoring method, UFC 300 is stronger. Plus it also has less fights already booked, which means it will definitely be even better before all is said and done, or at least that's the hope. But anyway, that'll just about do it for this video. How do you think we did with our picks? Be sure to let us know in the comment section below, and if you want to like the video and subscribe, that would be awesome. As always, thank you for watching.